Dave Mirra Freestyle BMX 2. A game that, more likely than not, you've never heard of. A game name that blends into all the other sports games that flooded consoles that generation. A game that you would, no doubt, not give a second glance if you passed by it on the shelf. For whatever reason, though, I did. Perhaps it was my love of Tony Hawk at the time. Perhaps it was the bright red cover that caught my eye. Perhaps it was the fact that it was $3. Yeah, this is my copy of the game from when I was a kid. I distinctly remember being in the GameStop at my local mall, thumbing through the cheapo game bin. My mom gave me a handful of dollars to spend that day, and I was looking to make it count. Out of all the games I saw, this is the one I went home with. And you know what happened? I formed a bond with the game that I'll never forget. Dave Mirra Freestyle BMX 2 will always be my diamond in the rough. It's not a perfect game, mind you. Even back then, I still preferred Tony Hawk's Pro Skater to this. But still, the fact that I went searching and discovered this great game I'd never heard of before, I had a little bit of pride in that. I took it over to my friend's house and we played multiplayer. We took turns playing single player. We goofed around with the physics engine. If you pressed a certain button combination, on the GameCube it was L plus R plus Y, your character would eject. You could fling your character around like they were a ragdoll. I particularly remember doing this move a lot. This was peak comedy to me and my pal back then. And of course, I played the game by myself. I did all the goals. I definitely remember some giving me a hard time, but I beat them. Once I did that with one character, I'd hop over to another and do it again. I spent all that time playing Dave Mirra Freestyle BMX 2 because it was what I had. Kirby Air Ride is another game I played a lot of. With my friend, too, we played an uncountable amount of city trial matches, gliding through the city over and over, racing to collect the pieces of the legendary machines, gathering all the top speed items we could to see just how fast you could go. We did practically everything one could within the boundaries of the game. In the video I just did on Mario Kart World, I talk about how driving around in free roam has similar vibes to that game. How I could have imagined coming up with all kinds of stories driving around the world and lose hours to me just wandering about. Only I'm not getting lost into that world like I did Kirby Air Ride back in the day. You know why? Because Kirby Air Ride was all that I had. Most kids aren't necessarily spoiled for choice when it comes to video games. Even back in the day, before all this $70 and $80 nonsense, games were expensive. As a kid, you aren't going to have $60 to spend on every new game coming out that you want. Hell, you aren't going to be able to get a fraction of the games you want. The most kids could do is wait a while and get it used at a heavy discount. Money was the limiting factor. Kids don't be getting money. They aren't allowed to have jobs. At least that's what my lawyer says. So instead of playing brand new games all the time, you'd replay old games. Go through them over and over. Really savor them. Become uncomfortably familiar with them. After all, you had nothing but time. Time. Huh. When you get a job and can buy your own games, money stops becoming the limiting factor. Time steps up to the plate and takes that role. Admittedly, you do have to pay bills and all that, but you get to dictate how much of your paycheck goes to supporting your hobby. Think about that though. To be able to get the money to buy games, you need to dedicate a large chunk of your day to working a job. Time that's spent not playing games. Then you gotta do random stuff around your house or apartment. Time spent not playing games. Maybe you even get a family. That'll definitely take away from game time. That's not to say you shouldn't do those things. Those are all a part of growing up. It just means that you can't dedicate yourself to playing games like you could when you were a kid, when you had nothing to do on weekends or even on summer break. Now it's different, and games don't stop coming out. You have access to so many more games than you did when you were younger. Steam is inundated with literally dozens of games launching on the platform every day. And can't forget the Steam sales. Classic games from years and decades past, playable on your machine right now, and it's 90% off. You'd be a fool not to get it. Oh wait, there's another. And another. It's easy to get caught up in the sales Steam throws at you. And then, oop, Your library is full of games that you couldn't even come close to finishing in your lifetime. I'm not really forced to sit with games like I did when I was a kid. Now that I have an income and can decide to spend $10 on Dynasty Warriors 7, I don't have to reckon with the fact that I have a huge backlog of games that I could be playing instead. The problem literally flips around. You go from no money, yes time to yes money, no time. The way you think about games changes as you get older, and not just in regards to how you decide what to play. I think it goes deeper than that. Let's take a brief gander at Starfield. I know, I don't want to look at it either, but stick with me here, this is all going somewhere. Starfield really tries to grip you emotionally. It plays this soulful music, has these characters that pour their hearts out to you, and attempts to wow you with spectacle. It's like a lot of Bethesda games in those ways. They really want you to get immersed in their world. But it never happened for me. I recognize that's what they were doing. I can see the systems they'd want me to engage with for hundreds of hours, but I don't like playing the game. I can see how they wanted me to get super interested in the characters, but I didn't really care that much. And these worlds, they wanted you to feel like it was an expansive universe where anything could happen, where you could randomly stumble upon some interesting discovery on planet 642 of 1000, where it could feel like a real, living universe. But I didn't buy it. I can't help but perceive this game as a series of boxes. When I'm in a building, I'm just in a box separate from the world. When I'm in space, I feel like I'm in a boxed off part of it. It doesn't really feel like I'm truly in space here. And even on planets, it still feels segmented. All these loading screens section parts of the game off to where none of it feels cohesive. I don't buy into the illusion the game is trying to set up for me. And I kinda hate that I think like that. I wish I could get immersed in this world and care about it like Bethesda wants me to, but I can't. Kid me, could I bet? When you're an adult, I feel like you lose some of that magic in how you see the world. Your parents bought you gifts for Christmas, Santa isn't real, Tooth Fairy isn't either, and teachers don't live at school. You slowly start to understand the world and how it works, how people work. You can think about things analytically, where you might not have even noticed all the loading screens in Starfield as a kid, you do now. And if you're anything like me, you're plugged into the video game industry more. I follow developers I like, I notice trends across developers, I keep up with drama. Where, to a kid, a game might have felt like a gift from the gods, divinely created to directly appeal to your sensibilities, now you see games as a product, a piece of software created by a set of human beings. That childlike wonder is gone. I tell you, if I had access to the games I have now back when I was a kid, I wouldn't have played Dave Mirra Freestyle BMX 2. I know that because I have a Steam library full of games that I'm not playing. Choice paralysis hits you. You're no longer choosing between 4 games you could play. There's 100, 1,000 even. Think of all the games that are easily accessible from previous generations. And if retro stuff isn't for you, Microsoft's Game Pass has AAA games lined up for a paltry monthly subscription fee. I can easily imagine a world where any of these games could have been my Dave Mirra Freestyle BMX 2. Spark the Electric Jester 3 has some amazing movement. Dynasty Warriors 8 is packed to the brim with content. Hell, there's a remake of Super Monkey Ball 1 and 2, games I played a lot as a kid, both of them in one package. I could see my younger self putting 100 hours easily into any of those games. But now, the most I'll do is play them for a couple hours and drop it. Maybe I'll stick around for a dozen or two, but it's very rare for me to see a game through 100%. Completing the story in a game is easy, but truly getting familiar with it like I used to, I just don't have time for that anymore. I used to be really bad about not finishing games. Some I'd get tens of hours into and just drop because I wasn't vibing with it in the moment. Now, since I have a YouTube channel, I kinda push through that. I remember reaching a point during my Xenoblade Chronicles playthrough where I felt such a strong urge to drop it. I felt like I was at a low point in the story and it kinda lost its grip on me. But because I knew I really wanted to talk about the world in that game, I continued on. I ended up finishing it. I'm so glad I did. It's one of my favorite JRPGs now. In fact, that game kinda lit a spark in me. It reminded me of why I loved JRPGs in the first place. The plot was so intriguing, the world was beautiful, and the characters were so tastefully written. I feel a connection with my younger self reflecting on my experience with that game. I'm taken back to a time where I wasn't concerned with the broader trends in the gaming industry, where I didn't care about review scores or what other people thought. I was all into Xenoblade Chronicles. It kinda brought that magic back for me. Every now and then, a game hits me just right like that. It's good to find something that has you forgetting about all the drama and problems with the industry. And I'm not saying you shouldn't pay attention to stuff like that. It's very important that those problems are acknowledged. People shouldn't have to crunch to make games. Everyone should feel included in the workplace. Those are real things that should be dealt with so people developing the games can live happier lives. But they work for stuff like this, so people can get wholly invested in their games and truly connect with them, resonate with them on a spiritual level. The developers who worked tirelessly on remaking Final Fantasy VII did it because of the connection people have with the original. I remember streamer Maximilian Dude saying that the developers told him they would go back to his reaction to the announcement of the project. They would watch that video and it would keep them going. It reminded them of why they were working on a remake of such a beloved game. Just imagine if some of the developers from Dave Mirra Freestyle BMX 2 knew how much that game sticks out in my mind to this day. I bet that was a work of passion for some of those people. Because at the end of the day, this is art. Art affects everyone differently. It's about what it means to you as an individual. I've definitely learned that throughout my YouTube journey here. You need to be able to shut that cynical part of your brain off sometimes and just enjoy something for what it is. Give yourself into the piece. Give yourself into the artist's vision. Don't treat it as a product to be consumed. Absorb it. Open your heart to letting it become a part of you. Maybe stop buying so many new games. Play through your backlog first. Thanks for watching, Pretizens. See you next time.